My name is Sophie. I am from France. I always dreamed of speaking English fluently. I wanted to travel, study, and talk to people from different countries. But the problem is, I was shy and scared to speak in English. One day, I saw an ad online about a language school in Canada. The pictures were beautiful. Snow, students, smiling faces. My heart beat fast. I told my parents, I want to go. They looked surprised but said, if this is your dream, go for it. I applied for the program and waited. Days passed. Then, one morning, I got the email. You have been accepted. I screamed with joy. I packed my bags, said goodbye to my family, and flew to Toronto. When I arrived, everything was new. The air was cold. People spoke fast. I felt lost in the airport. But a woman smiled and said, "Welcome to Canada." Her words warmed my heart. I found my host family. They were kind and helpful. They spoke slowly and helped me learn. My room was small but cozy. I was happy but nervous. What if I failed? That night, I whispered to myself, "Be brave, Sophie. This is your dream." My first day at the language school was exciting and scary. I wore my best coat and took a deep breath before entering. The building was big and full of students from many countries. I heard English, Spanish, Arabic, and even Japanese. My teacher's name was Mr. Carter. He smiled and said, "Good morning, everyone." I said it too, but quietly. He gave us a test to check our level. I didn't understand some words, but I tried my best. In class, I met a girl from Brazil. Her name was Anna. She was friendly and laughed a lot. She said, "Don't worry, Sophie. We will learn together." Her words made me feel better. The first lessons were hard. I didn't know many words. I made mistakes. Sometimes I wanted to cry. But Anna always said, "You can do it." That gave me strength. Every evening, I went home and practiced. I watched cartoons in English. I repeated sentences. I wrote new words in my notebook. Slowly, I improved. At the end of the week, Mr. Carter said, "Good job, Sophie. Keep going." That made me smile. In Canada, I learned English not only in class, but everywhere. At the supermarket, I had to ask, "Where is the milk?" On the bus, I listened to people talking. At the park, I heard children playing and shouting in English. One day, I got lost. I didn't know the way back home. I was scared, but I remembered my English lessons. I asked a woman, "Excuse me, how do I go to Maple Street?" She showed me the map and said, "Take this bus." I said, "Thank you," and smiled. That day, I felt proud. I used English in real life. It worked. On weekends, Anna and I explored the city. We visited museums and tried new food. We always spoke English, even when it was hard. We laughed at our mistakes. We also joined a local library. It was warm and quiet. I borrowed children's books and read them out loud. I liked the pictures and simple sentences. It helped me learn faster. Little by little, I felt stronger. English was not scary anymore. It was like a new friend. One cold morning, Mr. Carter told us, "Today, we will work in pairs." I looked around and hoped Anna would be my partner, but she was already with someone else. I sat next to a boy from Japan. His name was Ken. Ken smiled and said, "Nice to meet you." I said, "Nice to meet you too." We had to ask questions and write about each other. He liked video games and sushi. I liked music and cheese. We laughed and learned about each other. At lunch, we all sat together, me, Anna, Ken, and others. We shared food and stories. I said, "In France, we eat bread with everything." They laughed. Making friends from different countries helped me learn faster. We all made mistakes. We helped each other. No one laughed at anyone. Anna invited me to her host family's house one weekend. We cooked Brazilian food and danced. Her host mom said, "Sophie, your English is getting better." I was so happy. Now I had friends. I had a new life. I was not alone anymore. After 2 months, we had a big English test. It included reading, writing, listening, and speaking. Mr. Carter said, "Don't be afraid. Just do your best." But I was very nervous. I studied every night. Anna helped me. We practiced speaking in front of a mirror. I wrote essays and asked my teacher to check them. I listened to English songs and tried to understand every word. The test day came. My hands were cold. I closed my eyes and said, "I can do it." I read the texts, answered questions, wrote a story, and spoke with another teacher. After the test, I felt tired, but proud. I had tried my best. 1 week later, Mr. Carter gave us our results. I passed. My score was higher than I expected. I cried with happiness. Anna hugged me and said, "I knew you could do it." That test was a big step. It showed me that I was learning, growing, and winning. As months passed, I started feeling more confident in myself. I could speak in class without fear. I could ask questions, share ideas, and even joke in English. It was like a flower opening slowly. My words, my thoughts, and my voice. One day our teacher asked me to lead a group activity. My hands were shaking, but I said yes. I stood in front of my classmates, explained the task, and guided the group. When it ended, they clapped. I smiled shyly, but inside, I felt proud. Later that week, I gave a small presentation about French culture. I showed pictures of Lyon, talked about French food, and even taught them how to say bonjour. Everyone listened with interest. I saw their smiles, their curiosity. It made me happy. I also joined a conversation club. We met in the college cafe every Thursday. We chose topics like dreams, family, or favorite books, and spoke only in English. Sometimes I made mistakes, but it didn't matter anymore. What mattered was connection. People started noticing my progress. My teacher said, "You've grown so much, Sophie. Your English is beautiful now." I wanted to cry. I remembered how scared I was at the beginning, but I didn't give up. Now I felt stronger, not just in English, but in life. I learned that believing in yourself is the first step to anything. Canada gave me that belief. Even though I was improving, life in Canada was not always easy. Winter was long and cold. Some days, the snow was so deep, I could hardly walk. My boots got wet, my hands were freezing, and I missed the warm sun of France. There were also days when I felt tired of speaking English. My brain felt full. I missed speaking in French, thinking fast, making jokes without trying to translate. I felt stuck between two languages. One day, I got a low score on a writing test. I had worked hard, but the teacher wrote many corrections. I felt sad. I thought, maybe I'm not good enough. I wanted to give up. I cried alone in my room. But then I remembered why I came. I took a deep breath, opened my notebook, and rewrote the essay. I looked at every correction, learned each mistake, and tried again. That effort gave me hope. I also had money problems. Living in Canada was expensive. I started working part-time in a bakery. It was hard. I stood for hours, my feet ached, and I had to speak English with customers. But I learned a lot. Those hard days made me stronger. They taught me patience, responsibility, and courage. I realized that pain is part of growth, and nothing great comes without effort. One day, our teacher asked us to prepare a culture day. Every student would bring something from their home country and share it with others. I was excited and nervous. I wanted to show the beauty of France. I baked small French pastries with Anna's help. We made signs in both English and French. I also brought a little Eiffel Tower, postcards from Lyon, and photos of my family. I wore a beret and practiced my speech in English. When the day came, the room was full of colors, smells, and music. People wore traditional clothes and shared dances, songs, and stories. I visited every booth, learning about India, Nigeria, Japan, and many more places. When it was my turn, I stood by my table and smiled. I said, "Bonjour, my name is Sophie. Welcome to France." I shared my pastries, told stories about my city, and even taught a simple French song. People laughed and clapped. Many students said, "Your food is delicious," or "I want to visit Lyon now." Their words made me feel proud. For the first time, I felt like a real teacher. I was not just learning, I was sharing. That day, I learned that language is not only about speaking, it's about connecting, giving, and building bridges between hearts. As the months passed, the end of my program came closer. I couldn't believe it. My time in Canada had changed my life. I had grown so much. I didn't want it to end. My last week was full of emotions. We took photos, hugged teachers, and wrote messages for each other. Everyone was saying goodbye, but with love in their eyes. It was hard to let go. Anna cried and said, "You are my best friend, Sophie. I will miss you every day." I hugged her tightly. I said, "We will meet again, I promise." We took a picture together and promised to stay in touch forever. On the last day, I walked around the city alone. I visited the college, the bakery, the park where I used to sit. Every place held memories of fear, of joy, of growth. At the airport, I looked out at the snowy runway. I whispered, "Thank you, Canada. You taught me English, but also so much more." I took a deep breath, boarded the plane, and smiled. I was not the same girl who had arrived months ago. I was braver, wiser, and stronger. Back in Lyon, everything felt familiar, but different. The streets, the language, my room. It was all the same, but I had changed. I walked with more confidence. I spoke with more strength. When I met my family, we hugged and cried. My little sister said, "Your English is so good now." My parents were proud. I told them stories about Anna, my college, the snow, and the bakery. I found a job helping tourists in Lyon. Every day, I used English. People from all over the world came, and I could speak to them easily. I felt useful, happy, and proud. I also joined an English book club. We met once a week and read novels together. I helped others who were still learning. I shared my journey and gave them hope. Later, I started a blog about my time in Canada. I wrote about my struggles, joys, and lessons. Many students wrote to me saying, "You gave me courage. I want to follow your path." My journey to Canada ended, but my story with English continued. Learning a language is not just about grammar. It's about heart, courage, and believing in yourself. And that journey never truly ends.